Thank you, Chair. Welcome back, Auditor General and your team. Always a pleasure to have you at committee. And thank you, Mr. Rami, for your attendance today. Largely, my questions in this particular round will be directed to you, Mr. Rami. Prior to your attendance today, actually, before I get to that, is this the first time that you've appeared at committee to discuss the SDTC?
That is correct.
Yes. So prior to your appearance today, did you receive any briefings from any other member at SDTC, the NRC, the Minister of ISED, any of his deputies or assistant deputies, or anyone in the Privy Council office or the PMO office?
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify briefings. What type of briefings?
To prepare you for this hearing.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I would have certainly have received briefings from my colleagues at SDTC. I would not have received any briefings whatsoever from, to go through the rest of your list, the NRC, anybody from the ministry, or did you say the deputy minister, or any other ISED officials?
Okay, so strictly from SDTC only?
That is correct.
Okay. In response to one of the questions put to you by my colleague, Mr. Perkins, in the first round, I saw that you deliberately looking down and reading from what appears to be notes or a document. Is that accurate?
I do have notes that I prepared for myself.
Okay. We would like you to table those notes to this committee. Is that something that you'd be prepared to do?
I will look into that for you.
Chair?
Just one sec, please. Hold on a second. Mr. Brock, I'm going to let you continue, and I'm going to come back to you on that, please.
Were these notes prepared by you or any other member of SDTC?
Mr. Chair, these notes would have been prepared by my colleagues at SDTC, and I would have certainly had some input and contributed to that.
Who are the colleagues?
Mr. Chair, sorry, I'll have to, what's the question, sorry?
Who were the colleagues?
They were colleagues, the colleagues who've been monitoring the hearings that have been ongoing related to SDTC.
I'd like the names, sir. I would like the names and the official title of all those individuals who've been monitoring these hearings and giving you advice and or speaking notes in relation to your appearance today. Is that something that you'll comply with?
I will look into that, Mr. Chair.
You indicated in your opening statement part of your role as COO is to implement recommendations of the AG report. One of those recommendations of the AG report is to recover monies that were inappropriately taken from taxpayers. We have approximately $400 million identified as misused taxpayer funds that went to Liberal insiders. A couple of months ago, we heard from one of the current acting directors, Cassie Doyle. I put to her several questions, as did other members put to her several questions as to when taxpayers will receive their money back, and she refused to give us a straight answer. It is something I know that the Auditor General is quite concerned about. When she testified back in June of this year, there was no clear indication from the government as to what the timetable was. So I'm asking you, sir, as the COO, what is the plan and what is the process, and when can Canadians expect to receive their hard-earned tax dollars back?
Mr. Chair, of the 11 Auditor General recommendations, 10 have been implemented. There is one that is ongoing related to a very specific recommendation around reviewing the eligibility of all projects that were covered in the sample period that was covered by the Auditor General in her team.
Sir, I'm not asking about the process. I'm asking about when will you answer a question, or a member of your team answer a question, as to what the process is to repay the taxpayer? When can we expect this?
And Mr. Chair, just to continue, in that plan we tabled back in June, the eligibility review is targeted to be completed by the end of December.
Who's doing that
Thank you.
review?
Mr. Brock, I'm afraid that is the time. We will certainly come back to you.
Can we come back to the questions I put to this particular witness?
Yeah, so Mr. Rami, the question has been put forward. I think it kind of breaks down into two parts. If you would perhaps, if you would provide to this committee, as Mr. Brock recommended, the name of the officials that provided briefings to you would be appreciated. I don't think there's anything too out of sorts with that request. As for your notes, if you would provide us both the notes that you're prepared to provide and as well make very clear parts that you are not. And I would urge you to be as forthcoming as possible. So because this, and again, we're not here yet. The committee, I'll just remind you, the committee does have the ability to order the production of documents. So I would urge you to be as forthcoming as possible, and we look for that information in the next 3 weeks. Could I leave that with you? Is that because I realize those are notes prepared for yourself, but they could well be relevant. So, and I think there's a point of order for Mr. Durian. Yes, Mr. Durian.
Just on that, are we advising the witnesses that are appearing here that their personal notes may be shared? So I'm just wondering, is Mr. Brock interested in the doodles that the witness may have done, or is he interested? Like, I'm just wondering, are we giving them a warning that their notes may be shared? Just because if I was appearing as a witness, I would like to know that.
Sure. Well, I think as you know, Mr. Durian, the committee does have, as does Parliament, latitude to order the production of documents. In this case, they have been requested. This is something that I had not heard of before, which is why I wanted to consult with the clerk here and find a path forward that would be appropriate. And I think we've landed there. So if that's, I'm going to turn things over to Ms. Khalid. You have the floor. Yes, Ms. Khalid. So is it point of order?
Yes,
go
just
ahead.
on that same one, I think it is reasonable for us to, whatever documents the witness provides, for us to be able to review them in camera, and then as a committee decide whether they should be made public or not.
We could do that.
To respect
Sure.
the reasonable privacy of any
Sure.
witness, and not set precedents.
Just 1 second, Mr. McCauley. Yes.
On that point, like under the Access Information Act, his notes are atypable, so they are not private. They would, I could file a tip right today on Mr. Rami and receive those handwritten notes. That's required under the Access Information Act. He works for the government. Those notes written are therefore part of the public record, so that there's no
Yes, Ms. Khalid.
privacy on this.
I do believe there are exemptions, and that rule is not a complete blanket to get access to somebody's doodles. So I do think that we need to proceed with caution. Absolutely agree that if the witness wants to
Order.
the-
Ms. Khalid, you have the floor. Yes.
I try not to heckle my colleagues on a regular basis,
You-
Chair, although I have
attention,
lots of
yes.
heckles to do, but I try to be respectful, and I would obviously appreciate the same courtesy. What I was trying to say is that I think it is important for us to, as a committee, review the notes in camera before we decide whether or not to make them public.
I'm prepared to allow that, but I would just signal to the witness, you should send us your notes as if you expect they would be public, please. And again, I would ask that you be clear if you've removed elements and why that is. On that.